Let's return now to our top story. Stephen Miles has all but been confirmed as Queensland's next Premier, pushing Cameron Dick to be his right-hand man. For more on this, we are joined by the Courier Mail's political reporter, Madura McCormack. Madura, thank you so much for joining us. What got Stephen Miles over the line, particularly a day after Shannon Fentiman got up to announce that she was also running?
So what I've heard is that there were a flurry of negotiations last night. It went till about 10:30 p.m. I'm hearing. So there was a meeting separately. The right faction met separately with Stephen Miles, and then later in the afternoon met with Shannon Fentiman. And afterwards they held their own meeting, just them, at about 8:30, and it went to 10:30. So it depends who you speak to, but the left faction believes that a significant deal was done with the AWU, the Australian Workers Union, which leads the right faction, and the Australian Workers Union is saying that, you know, what it was able to secure was things like an extra cabinet spot, making sure that Cameron Dick remains the Treasurer and holds the Deputy Premier spot, and, you know, there weren't these nefarious industrial deals that were made at all.
Right.
But yes, so it was those negotiations last night that sealed the deal.
OK, well, because of course he's now in the box seat. What sort of a Premier do you think Stephen Miles will be?
I mean, it will remain to be seen. He has been the Deputy Premier for quite some time now. You know, he's held multiple portfolios. I guess it will be difficult, I think, because it's 10 months to an election. Labor is still under significant pressure. You know, we haven't seen a leadership duo made up of just men since 2005, so he will have to balance that as well. And I think how he moves forward on issues like youth crime, on housing and on cost of living will be important. And he will also have to deal with, of course, the opposition, the LNP, you know, rolling out those attacks, because this is an option, or this is a leadership duo which really works in the opposition's favour when it comes to attack ads.
Well, let's talk about the upcoming election, because Stephen Miles, in his press conference earlier, he actually acknowledged that the Labor government was the underdog heading into October next year. What's the mood in Queensland ahead of the election? How much is the government on the nose here?
The government loves calling themselves the underdog, regardless of whether they are ahead or not. I believe Anastasia Palaszczuk, the outgoing Premier, famously referred to herself as the underdog at the last election when she increased her margin. They are definitely on the nose here in Queensland. You know, we've seen in previous times when Queensland swings, it swings and really, really hard. I've heard from sources across the spectrum who have done internal polling that it's upwards of 13% in some of those really marginal seats. I wonder how Stephen Miles as Premier will play in the regions, especially in North Queensland, places like Townsville. So that's definitely going to be a challenge. Labor sources have described to me, you know, that this change in leadership is really about saving the deck chairs on the Titanic, and the option is, you know, who is best placed to save the most number of chairs, and what they've gone with is Stephen Miles.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Just before we let you go, you mentioned some of the issues, for example, youth crime being one of the bigger ones. These are issues that have really plagued Anastasia Palaszczuk's government. How much will it now plague Stephen Miles? The
same amount, if not more. I guess, you know, we've seen Stephen Miles in the past. He was the government's attack dog before he took on a more statesman-like persona, but he's had some missteps in the youth crime area. He's, you know, arguably overstepped the mark previously when it comes to, you know, the role of the courts. I think he criticised a magistrate once, or what that magistrate had done. So, you know, the history and the things that he said, I think will come back to bite him on those issues. But I think the government is very well aware of the pressure that they're under when it comes to those three topics.
OK, well, there's still a long way to go until October next year. Madura McCormack, good to speak with you. Thanks for joining us.